Hi guys, this is my first video on something that I've been fascinated with for the last couple weeks. This is about the mud flood. If you don't know what the mud flood is, I'll leave a link in the description. You can kind of catch up on what's going on with it. But basically, the mud flood is the theory that at some point over the whole earth, there was some type of apocalyptic event or flood where mud basically drenched the whole world and buried all these buildings. So again, you can look at the links in the description and you can get more of an idea. But for those of you who know what the mud flood is, let's continue. Okay, so basically, when I started learning about the mud flood, one of the things that kind of stuck out to me were the brownstones in buildings in New York City. I lived in Brooklyn for 15 years and I don't live there anymore, so I couldn't take pictures personally, but I did find these pictures on the internet and I just kind of wanted to go through some of them to see, do the brownstones really make sense, or are they really mud flooded buildings? This first picture, as you can see here, there is the lower level of this building where you have to actually go down. So if you look at some of the things such as the doorways, for example, this doorway is up really high while this one is really down in the ground. So I'm starting to think, did they really build these buildings like this, or were these buildings actually mud flooded? I mean, for example, if you were building a building and this was the actual street level, would you somehow dig beneath ground level to place the front door? Like, that doesn't really make any sense to me. So I'm starting to think that yes, the buildings in New York, brownstones, a lot of these buildings are definitely mud flooded. For example, in a lot of the brownstones, you'll see what looks like kind of like different building materials. You'll see like this darker brownstone brick material, and you'll see this lighter material. Again, did they really build these buildings like this, or was this once a window that they had to turn into a door? If you look down here, you can see that there's also an indentation down at the bottom that looks like something else could have been under there. So it just really makes you think. Again, if you look at different brownstones, you'll see kind of like varying materials that were kind of just like look like they were thrown together after the fact. You start wondering, like, were these materials here in the first place? Did they build these buildings like this? Again, it seems really like awkward. Like, I don't know anything about buildings or contracting or anything like that. But again, would you build your front door down beneath ground level like this? It doesn't seem to make much sense in my opinion. And as you can see, in New York, there's also a lot of buildings where you'll see shops that are below street level. Like, this might be at what is the current street level, but in other buildings, as you'll see in some of the later photos, you have to go downstairs to enter the front door of these businesses. And it just looks really, really awkward, really strange. Like, why would they continue to build their buildings this way? This is an example of what I was talking about. Again, you'll see what is supposedly what is current street level, but you have to go really far down a level just to enter this building. Why would they build it this way? Why would you build one building at this height, another building front door at this height? Again, it makes absolutely no sense, and I do believe that these buildings were indeed mud flooded at a point. Here are a few more examples. As you can see with a lot of the brownstones, the stairs go up, and if you know about the mud flood, like, this would have been a window at some point. Like, this wouldn't have been a front door. The front door would have been down here somewhere where the stairs are. But if the building was indeed mud flooded to, say, this level, they would have had to build upward and make the window into a door, because what would have been the original door down here would have been covered and buried. As you can see here, there are many little like grates and things like this in New York, and you can clearly see that if you go down here, like, this looks like another window. Like, it should be the same size as these windows up here, but it looks like it's cut off and that it goes well below ground. Again, this doesn't seem to make sense from an architectural point of view, that you're going to build windows below ground that are covered up and hidden. Again, this is a great example. As you can see, this particular door is way up here, while you have another door at this level. And from an aesthetic point of view, again, I don't know anything about building buildings, but it just seems really strange that they would build a door up high like this and then build the next door down here at this level. What it looks like to me is that this could conceivably have been some kind of window, and maybe like this was, you know, another door or something that they had to put these stairs here so they can actually enter the building. That's what it looks like to me. And again, just more examples of the same strange kind of architecture, upper levels and stairs that go really deep beneath the ground, deep beneath street level. Again, seems really strange that they would do this. Again, if you can see, this is that kind of an incline right here, and this looks like it should be a door, but you can see that this door is completely cut off. Same thing with this window. And even this right here, this door looks like, again, that it's cut off, and that, you know, before the mud flood, the ground level would have been way down further, and that's what it looks like is happening here. And again, with the brownstones, you see a lot of different materials that kind of look like they were thrown together after the fact. Like this little structure, this staircase here, it just looks really bizarre to me. Like, would you really build a window right here and then cover it up with a huge staircase? Again, the material looks like slightly different than, you know, the material of the building itself. And these little strange windows, again, from an, like, you know, architectural point of view, like, what is this for? Why would you do this? It seems a little bit strange to me. Again, more windows that are recessed way below ground. Again, if this is indeed a mud-flooded building, this would have been a window, or, you know, maybe it would have been a door or a window or something, but it would have been, you know, completely open. It wouldn't have been covered off by like halfway by a whole like level of street right here. And again, one of the other things that I noticed with brownstones, there seems to be a lot of different building materials. For example, you see this brownstone material here, but then you see the bricks here. Again, was this constructed this way, or was this the original roof of the building that was mud flooded, so they had to build another structure on top of it? This was the original roof level, mud flooded up to here, we have to build something on top of it. That seems really plausible in my opinion. And this is just, you know, showing some construction, but again, looks almost like the stairs are kind of put here after the fact, kind of, you know, a little weird. Again, looks like 1, 2, maybe 3 different types of material here. Like, oh, the building was flooded, so we just had to build this like brick structure on top of it, you know, because the rest of the building was buried. As you can see here, this is from an article I found about some brownstone renovation, but you can clearly see how there are different building materials down here, and that it looks like some of this part right here was just thrown on top. Again, this would have originally been another window, and the original door would have been down here somewhere below ground. Like, this doesn't seem like it was the original structure of the building. Same thing here with the different materials. You see this material here and a completely different material on top. As if, like I said, this would have been the original roof and half the building was covered, so we had to just cut out this window. You can even see the windows are all at this level. Like, this would have been the original window level, but mud flooded, so they had to turn this into a door, dig down a little bit further, and just add another structure on top just to keep the top of the building there. Again, another example of these strange underground stairways that you see in New York everywhere. This is street level, but for some reason these structures go way down below ground. Like, I've never seen this. I've lived in 3 states so far, and I haven't seen this type of architecture anywhere outside of New York. I mean, I could be wrong. This could exist somewhere, but I don't know of any other place where these underground stairways exist like that from street level. Again, just what looks like stair that was put here after the fact. Like, it looks like obviously there's way more structure underground here, and that if the street level was buried in mud, oops, we just have to turn this into a door. Like, this looks like it may have been another window or something at some point, or maybe this was the original door, who knows. But again, strange levels here that it makes you wonder, makes you think, if you know about the mud flood, that these buildings were not originally constructed in this way. Again, more windows. Seems almost illogical that they're going to make these beautiful windows, but that is so recessed underground. Seems a little bit strange here. Same thing, these different building materials. It looks like this was kind of thrown here after the fact. It looks pretty new. A lot of this new stairway, it looks like newer than what I would say the brick building, how the brick building looks. So it's basically like, oh, this almost looks like, oh, these stairs were added after the fact. Same thing here. If you look at the door of this bagel shop, it looks like there really should be some more underground there. Like, this would have been like a makeshift entranceway, but it looks like this part of the building, the brown part, and the flooring, the concrete ground part, like it's almost separated here. Again, like it was mud flooded. They just kind of had to dig it out and make a makeshift door to get into the building. That's what it looks like to me. And again, you see kind of what's like different materials, from this lighter brown material here to the darker brown material here, and kind of concrete, like makeshift concrete entranceway. Again, we see the two different materials, the bricks and this, I don't know if it's limestone or whatever material this might be, but it kind of looks like it was just thrown here after the fact, and you kind of like don't really know what's going on here. Like, again, if you were building this building from scratch, this seems like kind of an awkward way to build a building, in my opinion. Again, you see more of these windows that are so far underground. This totally looks like this would have been just another window that somehow got buried, and we just kind of have to put some fencing around it, and maybe with this new material start and build something over it. You can see kind of like there's this material here, these, like, it looks like maybe brick right here, and what looks like a different color brick, and then a different brick yet again, and this base. So it's kind of like, you know, if everything had been mud flooded, they would just kind of have to, you know, work with what they had and kind of reconstruct it and put it together. And for my last slide, again, as you can see, it's what looks like these weird different layers. Like, this would have been the original building, but if it was mud flooded, they would have to, like, you know, make this into a makeshift door and build on top of it. Like, this looks like some type of grate or like fan or ventilation system. It almost looks like it's cut off, like it's kind of short. And again, something they just kind of had to throw on top of this after the flood. Again, with this structure, you see these two different types of material, different types of building materials. And again, it looks like it's kind of like thrown on top of here, like nothing looks uniform. Again, you have this here, and you have the bricks on top. So again, it just looks really strange, like maybe these buildings weren't originally built this way. Again, this is my speculation. We're just learning about the mud flood. It's a new subject that people are talking about. I can't say that I have 100% proof that what I'm saying is true, so it's just my speculation once again. So the mud flood is definitely fascinating me, and I want to do some more videos on mud flooding. So thank you for watching, and hope to see you guys again in the next video.